don't have enough time. There's not enough time. There's not enough hours in the day, enough days in the week. There's no way we can do that in the time that we have. Have you heard yourself thinking that? Saying that out loud? Sharing it with a team member? If you're like me, you're undergoing a lot of change right now, right? Things are so unpredictable. Things are speeding up. And there's not a way that we can predict and order things or control things, even in ways that we could months ago. But as long as we find ourselves flooded with the stress hormones of adrenaline and cortisol, and our focus narrows in on what's in front of us, it's very easy to get hypervigilant on what's changing in the world around us, and then find a place of trying to find safety for ourselves and our loved ones, our team members, and feeling limited in time, in energy, in resources. But if you can't shift out of that, you can't shift into a place of creation, and you won't be able to have the impact that you want to make. So today we're going to explore how you can bend time. What's up, guys? I'm Leanne Del Carpio, and I'm so happy that you're here with me. We are going to be exploring how you can get out of your own way and bend time or collapse time. We're going to go a little quantum today, so fasten your seatbelt. If you're a leader that wants to have greater impact, then you know that you operate in two different states on a day-to-day. And we all do. There's two basic physiological states. One is focused on the fight, flight, or freeze response, what I just described in terms of that narrow focus driven by the hormones of stress, kind of in doing mode, right? Many of us have sleep apps or breathing apps or the Calm app, something that's an attempt to try to get to this state of being, which is the rest and digest, the kind of restoration mode in our autonomic nervous system that allows us to simply get out of the constant swirl of thoughts of the past and in the future and actually land in the beautiful, sweet present moment where a breath, a space could actually be generative, not only for our thoughts, but for our biology, our physiology. Athletes call it energy expenditure and energy renewal. And if we are like the majority of people today, the majority of us are out of balance. Research shows that a lot of us are 70% in survival and only 30% in renewal, creation, relaxation. And yet, if we want to shorten our time to greater impact, we need to find ways to notice when we're in this convergent focus where we're in a place of lack and scarcity and shift out of that into a place of possibility and creation faster, and then stay connected with that. Because guess what? That's when we can find potentialities that exist that we cannot see when we're immersed in the hormones of stress. And so bending time, if we go quantum here for a second, is part of tuning into the infinite potentialities that exist. If you know anything about quantum physics, how many potentials exist out there? In any given moment, there are infinite number of potentialities. And yet what Einstein and Planck found through a series of experiments, and there's others that followed, right, is that everything out there is both particle and wave. So if I knock on this desk, it looks solid, right? It looks like it's just matter, right? But it's also wave, it's energy that has collapsed the wave function into one particular specific particle. Now, that's true of physical objects, but it's also, if you look into the quantum physics experiments, there's this idea that when the scientists were doing the experiments and they looked at how energy, when it's in wave format, collapses into particular particle, and it's different when there's an observer observing it. So when the scientists are observing it, their mind has an impact on matter. Now, depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go into quantum physics, but consider this for a moment. If our minds have some impact on matter in a very simple, very microscopic way, how might that also be true in our day-to-day lives and leadership? How many of you believe that the way that you think and feel has any impact on what you create, how you collapse your energy on one potential possibility, or how you collapse your energy on another potential possibility? Depending on how you think and you feel, could land in two different directions. It could pull you in two different directions. So if we want to create new possibilities and we want to expand the sense of what's possible and then shorten the time to creating that, we get to play with time in a new way. So in this video, I want to share with you a couple of tips on how we can kind of collapse the time that it takes to create something by expanding what we're noticing in a given moment. And this is particularly relevant. A client of mine last week was stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed, stretched beyond what he thought was possible. In a good way, because his part of the organization is being utilized highly. They're very, very much needed to develop something critical for the organization's growth, but in a non-sustainable way as he saw it, because his time felt so limited that he couldn't reach for new possibilities, new creative options for the 12 different projects that he's leading, of which 3 are high visibility inside of the company. And so he showed up to the call kind of exhausted and asking, how can we collapse time? I have so much to do and so little time. I know cognitively that there are infinite number of potentialities, and I get that I may have collapsed my thinking into one possibility, and there's likely others, but I cannot see them right now. I just can't see them. You know why? Because his stress hormones were kind of limiting his field of vision down to only a few possibilities. Here's a couple of tips. One, on the particle side of looking at time on that very granular, specific, three-dimensional manner that we all experience it day to day. How might we collapse time and free you up to have a little bit more breathing room to think and be able to see outside of those flood of stress hormones to more potentialities? And then number 2, how might we actually get and stay connected with the energy of the future and go a little quantum there and collapse time that way? Okay, ready? First tip. If you want to simply collapse time and get out of the initial flood of stress hormones, one of the best ways to do it, delegate, automate, eliminate are your first 3 options when you think about time in that particle, very tangible way, right? But it's not just delegate to get stuff done. You can delegate to get done, but if you actually think about delegation as an opportunity to leverage OPT, other people's time, not only your direct reports, but maybe those that are outside of your unit that could be fundamental collaborators in your effort. And you think about this as a development opportunity and a coaching opportunity and a mutual learning opportunity, where they're going to see and scan for something that's changing in the environment that they could share back with you. Now you're not only getting stuff done, but they're excited about the opportunity to develop. And you can use the 10-80-10 rule to use 10% of your time to clarify the vision, 80% of the time for them to get stuff done, learn from one another, collaborate, and then 10% for them to share back insights and for you to react. How you design the delegation is key. Automation. Automation, there is so much that we can automate today that was not even available in some cases like 6 months ago. There's new apps and platforms that are evolving so rapidly. My team and I, we have to pause every month and take a look at how are we using different platforms, software, apps to do various different tasks that are repetitive, and how are the platforms and the technology evolving, and where might we converge to be able to make some quantum leaps forward. So that is one thing that you can be assessing and then improving every single month, automation of daily repetitive tasks. And eliminate is also highly underleveraged. Where are there tasks that you have just fallen into by default that could be eliminated, that if eliminated would actually free you up for the very reflection time that you need to gain perspective, to slow your breathing down, to calm your nervous system, to get into more expansiveness, and then to actually allow intuition in, right? I would argue if you could find one unnecessary task each week for the next month, that might free up exactly the 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, whatever it is, right, that you need on a linear basis that would allow you just a little bit of breathing room. So that's on the particle level of time. Now, what if we think about time as kind of a wave, and like we want to tap into a new potential and we want to pull that future towards us rather than just quickly collapsing the wave into a particle that we know? Well, that means that we better spend some time expanding our vision of the future possibilities. our future selves, the future success of what we are trying to create. And so there's a number of ways that we can do this. Many of them you may already be doing. You may have a morning ritual where you ground your energy, you shift out of the stress hormones and really start your day, whether it be through something physical and physiological or meditation or some kind of movement, right? Those kind of morning rituals to set your energy, and then some kind of planning system where you actually identify your top 3 areas of focus for the day and for the week helps focus your attention and make sure you're not prematurely collapsing the wave function into just a default state. The most powerful thing though that you can do is achieve energetic set of connection with your future self by moving your physiology in conjunction with the thoughts and the feelings of how success in the future will look like, taste like, feel like. So I do 3 different practices. One, I actually create what's called a mind movie. I actually get physical photos and put them together, set that to music along with some kind of phrases of a project that I'm working on actually succeeding. So when I'm watching it, I'm immersed in not only, it's not like just affirmations, it's actually literally visual images of what success is going to look like. It's surrounded with a kind of music that uplifts me to a certain place. This is a way of setting your energy towards the future. I oftentimes will then walk in that energy of the future on my morning walk. Walk as your future self. How does that future Leanne walk? What does she think? What does she feel? How would she respond to something when this project is successful and I have become that person? What's her energetic set point? And it's funny to notice how you can walk differently depending on what you're envisioning. And then thirdly, sometimes just writing down and writing back to yourself from the future, kind of a back from the future letter, can be a powerful way to crystallize what you are creating and get a reminder of it. One resource for that, if you want to check it out, is futureme.org, where you can actually write a letter to yourself in the future, right? And in the present moment voice, talk about all that you've achieved. So I hope that these tips help you think about how you might shift out of, I have no time, to finding ways to get more expansive in general to new possibilities, and then collapse the amount of time that it physically takes to achieve greater impact. I look forward to hearing how this goes for you.